lights are out and you stumble in the dark. You kept pushing on, but then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me. You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me.
From Austin, Texas, the Moonshiners Cup Series is about to start making right turns and changing elevation at Circuit of the Americas. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the live music capital of the world. We're gathered here tonight for the first of 2 races in the Lone Star State for 2024, and tonight, when the green flag drops, these drivers will drown out any live music in this town. Matt Cox brought home the checkered flag last week at Bristol, soaring up 9 spots in our point standings, and tonight we look to see if someone can be that road course whisperer here at COTA. I'm Dave Regal alongside my partner in crime, Mr. Jordan Brockell, on his maiden voyage here at SRM, here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth, and as always, we're thrilled to be with you every step of the way. From the green flag to the checkered flag, right here on Sim Racing Media. And Jordan, it is a pleasure to have you in with us tonight as we go ahead and take our maiden voyage together here. As, we're at COTA, so you kind of get a little bit of a laid-back race as we're just going to be logging laps for a lot of this. We're going to see some good side-by-side action here, especially on the front stretch where we see John Binder coming up the hill. But what are you thinking about as we get ready to turn right?
I mean, honestly, it's a crazy thing to go from one of the smallest tracks in NASCAR. I mean, we're at a half-mile small concrete oval to one of the larger tracks. It's almost 3.5 miles. That's roughly about almost 6.5 Bristols. And, adding in going left and right, it's definitely going to be tricky for these guys to handle.
Yeah, this takes a completely different skill set, so to speak, because first off, you've got to be a lot more patient here on the road course. You have to let the car kind of come to you. You have to let the asphalt kind of talk to you. For a lot of these guys, they forget what it's like to drive on a backcountry road, and I've talked about it all week long as I've covered the last 3 nights here at COTA. When you come through the S's, it reminds me of a windy country road. You've got to let the road come to you. You don't want to try to attack it.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to overdrive your car. You definitely want to race the track and not the people around you. You want to be mindful of those around you for sure. Not to cause yourself any damage, get yourself behind. I know it's hard to go down a lap here, but I mean, anything can possibly happen. But, you want to race the track more than you want to race the people around you.
Without a doubt. I mean, this is definitely a different animal, so to speak, And, right now we've kind of been focused on John Binder, but we want to take a peek at Hunter Carmichael, who's just getting wound up here in the number 3 RS button boxes Ford Mustang. And for a lot of these guys tonight, this is going to be, kind of a, well, that's different. I suddenly can't make that logo get out of the screen. Yay for technical difficulties. There we go. For guys like Hunter Carmichael, who are usually very dominant here on the racetrack, as far as strength and patience, this is going to take a little bit of a different turn. I mean, right now Carmichael sits 10th in our point standings. Randy Mullins, though, leads the way. 172 total points for Ram Motorsports. Matt Cox, of course, last week's winner, hopped up 9 positions. And I'm not sure, and this is just because I'm filling in here, I'm not sure if they use the chase format for point standings, but if they do, Matt Cox not only punches his ticket to the postseason, but also climbs up into a nice, comfy position here on the leaderboard.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I mean, anytime that you get in the winner's circle, it's definitely a good boost in confidence, especially coming to a track, like COTA. Definitely gets you, a little more calmed down, and you can just, kind of just log laps, find yourself in good situations, kind of let everybody else, push themselves off the track and, out of the race, and just kind of survive a little bit differently than the Bristol surviving, but, just letting other people make the mistakes and you just running your own race.
Yeah, one of the things that I've noticed over the last, I would say, year here on iRacing, it seems like the service itself has really calmed down, and the true drivers and fans are out here in the cars now, versus, of course, during the COVID era where it seemed like anybody with a computer and a decent graphics card was out here running around. But, I've seen a lot of drivers get more patient over the last year or so. And the other thing is they're starting to drive using the rear view mirror. Hey, I can't get up here to this driver in front of me right now. Let me drive a little bit defensively, which, of course, gets somebody away from you, and you don't then have to be as aggressive moving forward, which limits the amount of mistakes that you're going to wind up making.
Yeah, and this next-gen car is a lot different than the Gen 6, in my opinion. It's a little bit more on edge. It's not always as stable as you really want it to be. And, I've learned very quickly that this car itself is all about, driver patience and confidence. If you don't have any confidence, you're definitely not going to be able to run this car very well. And you're going to be timid, and, being timid and scared and cautious, it's just not going to give you anything good as far as outcomes and finishes.
Without a doubt. And, Hunter Carmichael seems to have really started to pay his dues that way. Ed Boyles Jr. here in the 38 machine. He's just wrapping up his second lap here. He went 2 minutes 18 seconds 17 on the first lap. Right now, Kenny Capola here in the double natural. That 77 sits atop the pile at 2 minutes 12:43. So there's a huge gap, and it's one thing that I'm always afraid of at a road course, especially if somebody like Kenny Coppola can get out here and really start to dominate. Here at a race course like this, you might have those 2, 3, 4, 5 drivers that are really quick, and then there's the rest, where Johnny Shade right now in 15th position after his qualifying effort laid down a 2 minute 20. Whoa! Something fuzzy. Johnny Shade laid down a 2 minute 20:55. So, 8 seconds separating first from 15th right now as far as qualifying goes. Now, that's not to say that some of these drivers don't have a shot at, gaining spots during the race. It just, it becomes a whole thing, and you don't want to wind up, on the short end of the stick. Going to try to get a hold of Matt Cox here if I can. Well, then in that case, we're going to get a hold of Warren Young. Oh, I can't move him, can I? I can't drag drivers either. Okay, I can't interview anybody. Usually I like to try to check in with some of these drivers, especially the ones that I'm familiar with, and, just see what these cars are starting to feel like. And unfortunately, all of their voice chats are locked. So that's always fun. As we get ready, we've got just about a minute left here of qualifying, and it seems like actually 30 seconds left. Right now, wow, Warren Young just went to 12th on the timing line. Jeff Taylor laid down a 2 minute 16:26. Paul Gallimore still out here trying to make it happen, but unfortunately for Paul, I think it's time to call it quits. He's only got 5 seconds left here of qualifying. Chris Spear, and I haven't seen him in a long time, but here in the 7, just went 21st fastest, as it looks like we are going to get underway here. A quick check of our current conditions here. 79 degrees if you're in the stands. The asphalt temperature, though, 89. Jordan, that's one of those temperatures where you're right there in that sweet spot. It's warm enough to make it fast, but it's cool enough to make it grippy.
Yeah, and in a track like a Coda is definitely all about grip, because you want to be able to go around the apex and through the corners as quickly as you can and under control, and not really put the car on edge, and you don't want to burn up your tires too quickly. As you burn it up too far into the run, and I mean you're just going to slowly diminish in lap time. And if you're somebody that's already here in the back, running the 220s or 222s or something like that, you're setting yourself up to get caught even quicker.
Yeah, and you don't want to wind up on the short end of that stick, that's for sure.
No, not at all. And my biggest thing with road course racing is race and have the thought in your mind that you want to just finish the race, because you never know how many people are going to go out here and try to run as hard as they possibly can and end up costing themselves spots, and points. You just want to survive and keep your nose clean and just run your own race.
Yeah, I think that's something that comes with the discipline and experience of being a seasoned driver. Running your own race, and believe me, when I was out here on these road courses, I always seemed to get, if I gained a couple of spots, all of a sudden I was like, oh boy, here we go, and then would suddenly wind up in the wall or in the sandbox. So we're going to get ready here to take a look at our starting lineup from high above the racetrack here in our blimp camera. Kenny Coppola going to be our pole sitter. He's going to be joined on the front row by Randy Mullins out of Mount Pleasant, North Carolina. Hunter Carmichael and Tim Wertman Jr. going to be featured in row number 2. Row 3 going to be Shane Davis and Kyle Holden out of Chicago, Illinois. Brandon Fetterplace and Barry Sanders going to be in the 88 tonight from Lexington, Kentucky. Of course, the chief cook and bottle washer, a good buddy of mine, here in the 88 car. Chris James and Warren Young make out the beginning top 10, while Alex Coffey and Jeff Taylor are going to be in row number 6. Matt Cox and John Binder in row number 7, while Paul Gallimore and Justin Belmonte in row number 8. Row 9 going to be Ed Boyles and Paul Whitley. as Johnny Shade and Brandon Bike get themselves settled in here in row number 10. Chris Spear and Jamison Middlemiss going to be in row number 11, while row 12 going to have Chad Sullivan and Jordan Schmeetz. That's a fun one. Jordan Schmeetz in row 12. Jared Clark and Caden Norfree in row number 13, while Chris Davis and Blaine Wilson in row 14. Darren Mills and Derek Pemberton going to be in row 15, with Aaron Matthews, Nick King, Ryan Huff, and Nicholas Atwood starting shotgun on the field tonight from Scottsville, Kentucky. 46 laps the scheduled distance tonight as we get things ready to roll. The iRacing.com pace car lights are out. And I'll tell you what, I'm finally getting to that point of excitement, Jordan.
Oh, absolutely. You know, anytime you have those pace lights go out and you're getting ready to drop that green flag, the excitement just builds and builds and builds, and then you finally unleash all those horses, and then they just take off.
And away we go as Kenny Coppola just takes off. Randy Mullins in hot pursuit, though, as they come up the hill toward turn number 1.
And you're going to see them fan out really quickly, of course, trying to gain every bit of a position that they can on this first turn. You know, at 5 wide, just trying to get any advantage they possibly can.
Yeah, coming down the hill and out of turn number 2, we come into the S's, and this is what I was talking about earlier. This is probably one of the most beautiful looks that you can ever see on a race car, when they're all bunched up and they come through here kind of like a snake, as a slithery snake, as they run through here. It just looks so darn cool coming through the S's that first time.
It's a gorgeous sight for sure. And they've also got to be very careful not to, catch any kind of time penalty through those S's too. You want to go through as quickly as you can, but sometimes you just got to back her down a little bit and try to keep her in between the white lines.
Speaking of backing her down a bit, this is going to be kind of our calamity corner for many drivers tonight. We're heading toward it now. In fact, for you folks at home, we're going to get a good look at this as they come down toward. They're calling it a tighter-ish turn, but to me, it's kind of like a safety pin. We're going to haul down here as Kenny Coppola brings us in. It's not a perfect hairpin, but it's as close as it's going to get. And we see a lot of drivers, they kind of get lulled into a false sense of security coming down this straightaway. And a lot of them wind up overcooking the entry to that turn. In fact, I'm starting to see some of it right there. There it is, the 7. In fact, we're going to get a second here to see what Chris Spear did as we quick run this back on the replay. Now, Chris Spear, we're going to run right from his nose here. You kind of get yourself nice and relaxed here. Of course, Spear out of Dallas, Texas, hopefully a Dallas Cowboys fan. 33 years old. He hasn't really seen any success there for the Cowboys, but for those of us that remember it well, it was exciting. Anyway, Spear comes in here, overcooks the corner, and misses everything. And that's something that we're going to see more often than not here at COTA.
Yeah, and I didn't even know there was a little bit of a bump there. But also, you've got to kind of be in the mind of the drivers in front of you as well, because if they don't have the confidence to drive that car in deeper into the turn than you, you could end up with a face full of their rear end, and then you're screwed for the rest of the races. Chris Spears gets a little bit of loose there coming through the final turn.
Yeah, he's here almost in a Rust-eze kind of look here as he goes shooting on past us. We've got some changes here atop the pile. Hunter Carmichael. Oh, never mind. That was just a connection problem. Looks like Kenny Coppola, Randy Mullins, and Hunter Carmichael run 1, 2, 3 here as Shane Davis has already crawled up one position. Our big mover of the night right now in the plus direction is Chad Sullivan, just ahead of Tim Wertman, who's actually down 10 positions from where he had begun. So Sullivan, going in the right direction, starts 23rd. He claws his way up here into 13th. It's almost as if he just wanted some kind of a challenge here at the beginning of this piece.
Yeah, and I mean, I can also see up here at the top a little bit these front runners. I mean, they're running about 2 seconds-ish slower than like their qualifying times, so maybe they're saving a little bit there. But like someone like Chad Sullivan trying to get every spot that he could, I wouldn't be surprised if every restart we probably see Chad jumping 4 or 5 wide there, trying to just get every advantage that he possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it right. And moving in the wrong direction is last week's winner, Matt Cox, who qualified in 11th and has now sunk back to 22nd here in the 32. And, this is something that we see, more often than not, where some drivers are just simply more comfortable than others. A lot of times, though, it has nothing to do with, that comfort. This is stage one. Get yourself settled into the car, get yourself, kind of lined up as much as you want. See if there's any changes you have to make and get those creature comforts, in order.
Yeah, and I mean, it's easy for you to run out here, by yourself or in a practice with one or two cars. But once you get all, I believe we started here with 36 cars. Once you get all 36, 37 cars out there on the track, I mean, it's completely different. You have to, be mindful of, everything around you. And thankfully for iRacing during practices, we have the resets. We can just pop into pit road and we have another car. But during the race, there isn't that safeguard. You can't just go plowing through everybody and throwing caution to the wind. You got to be really mindful of your equipment, and you want to keep it as clean as you possibly can. So I mean, Matt Cox, falling. I mean, it could be he just saw something he didn't like, or maybe he does need to make a couple adjustments, but. Like you said, it's only stage one, and I mean, you can only go up from where he is right now.
Yeah, and to your point, I mean, more often than not, I know that I've done it in the past. How many times have you slid into the car with that cue set up still in your garage?
Oh, more times than I want to admit. You especially at tracks where you're running 100% tape and you're just full throttle through the whole thing, and then next thing you know, you're like, wait, why am I overheating in the middle of the race? And then you got to back her down and try to get her to that either caution or that stage end, just so you can rip off some of that tape. Yeah,
trust me, we've all been there. Taking a look real quick, Ryan Huff stepping off track. We're starting to see some of these cars. Maybe, if you've ever been down on the paint on a racetrack, you don't think that it's that slippery because you figure, it's got to be like Treadplex or something from Sherwin-Williams. That stuff is slick. I had the esteemed pleasure of being able to check out the paint on the asphalt down at Homestead, Miami this past fall, and I was impressed to see how slick that was, and I can't imagine how it must be to get just even a little bit of that tire on the painted surface.
Yeah, for sure. And thankfully with the temperatures today, it's not as greasy on these tires. It's not necessarily melting the tires while they're running. It's just kind of roughing them up a little bit. So it shouldn't be that treacherous, but I'd still tread very carefully on that paint.
Taking a peek here at Kyle Holden in the 59, running 6th position right now. He's only about 7 seconds behind our race leader, 7.8 seconds behind our race leader. Ordinarily we would say that's a really long way, but when you're running 2 minute 11 second laps, that's really not that far off. Randy Mullins just went purple on the racetrack at 2 minutes 11:73. We're going to take a quick peek here at Randy Mullins and his lap times. And we can see right now Carmichael running about a quarter of a second slower per lap than Mullins. So maybe Carmichael just trying to get himself settled in there to the car. Never thought I'd get stumbled on that one. But Shane Davis the same way. He had one good lap there on 2, and now here we are on 3. And he's just about 9/10 slower than Shane Davis ahead of him. 4 laps in the books here in the Moonshiners Racing League Cup Series. I'm Dave Riegel. He's Jordan Brockell. You're watching Sim Racing Media. We want to thank everybody for checking in and, making us a part of your evening. Taking a look here at the YouTube.com live chat, we've got Taint Tickler. I've never been allowed to say that on the air. Saying, let's go 54. Would love to see Mullins take it home. Kelly Coffee cheering on Alex Coffee. Tracy Holden cheering on Kyle Holden here in the there in the 59. Taint Tickler asking to interview the 54. Unfortunately, I can't interview anybody because I can't drag them around. We've got a couple of other folks, D. Wimble here. So let us know who you're pulling for. Make sure, if you haven't done so already, subscribe and turn on those bell notifications to Sim Racing Media. We've got right now 6 nights of racing a week here on iRacing.com. And I'll tell you what, Jordan, it's exciting right now because at the beginning of every real NASCAR season is also usually when we kick off a bunch of other seasons here on the iRacing.com servers. And, you know, it's, to me, this is almost the best time of year because, of course, baseball season starts tomorrow, except for the Phillies, who will now start Friday. But, you know, this is like the best time of year. This is perfect.
Oh, 100%. I mean, you got the Super Bowl, you know, happening. You know, unfortunately, the Eagles, you know, they choked it away this year. You know, didn't even make it as far as they should have. But you know, you get the Super Bowl, you get, you know, all the All-Star games for, say, you know, basketball and hockey, and then you get the Daytona 500 kicking off that season. NHRA, everything just starts to come alive around this time of year.
Yeah, you know, it's one thing when, you know, this is the best time of year because baseball is back for me, but there's also another fabulous time of year where, and we'll see it later this year, of course, come about, you know, mid-October, when, of course, baseball playoffs are in full swing. The NHL comes back. Football is finally getting into its pace, and then NASCAR playoffs going on as well. It's like, you know, NASCAR just seems to know exactly where to hit it, and hit it hard from the yard, that's for sure. As Aaron Matthews here in 20th position, up 12 spots from where he had started. Chad Sullivan plus 13 on the timing line. So it has been an exciting night for some of these drivers. And then at the same time, Kenny Capola up here, logging laps. He's just out here getting her done. And he and the 54 of Randy Mullins, you know, they've got kind of a battle going on, but right now it's not that hot as we're just on lap number 5 of 46.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we see, you know, Randy kind of push the envelope here a little bit, just because, you know, last week he did get wrecked out of the lead, getting involved with I can't remember if it was a lap car or not, but I'm pretty sure he was one of the ones that got involved with a lap car. You know, got taken out from the lead, you know, needs to make up some points. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see him push the envelope, you know, try to get around Kenny, you know, try to lead some laps, you know, even try to gap him a little bit and, you know, try to actually pull out this win.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I mean, this is one of those, you know, we always talk about super speedways being a wild card because, you know, sometimes it's dumb luck that puts you there in victory lane. This is kind of a different style of wild card where, you know, yes, some of it is luck, but a lot of it also is skill. And, you know, for those drivers that may not be as strong on your ovals, whether they're short, intermediate, or super speedways, you know, this is the place where they're really able to shine, kind of like Juan Pablo Montoya used to be back there in the mid-2000s. And, you know, this is just another example of how some of the drivers on iRacing, at least in my opinion, are almost more talented than some of the things that we see in real life because, you know, in real life, you know, when NASCAR goes to COTA, some of those drivers really fall off and they're like, okay, I'm just here so I won't get fined. But at the same time, then you have somebody like Juan Pablo Montoya who comes in and just dominates and lights things up.
Yeah, and I mean, you can even see, you know, AJ Allmendinger made it basically a career of being a road course ringer. And then you have somebody like Shane Van Gisbergen come over from the Supercar Series, and he wins his first Cup Series race in the Chicago Street Race. And, you know, someone like Chase Elliott, who used to dominate, you know, the road courses when he, you know, his championship season and was even his first win at Watkins Glen. So, I mean, it's definitely, like you said, a wild card in a different sense, that the people, again, who are not as strong on these ovals, they really get to find their way to punch themselves into a playoff spot, you know, get themselves a win, you know, get their name out there, you know, whatever it may be. And I mean, it's a great wild card, in my opinion.
Yeah, and, you know, more road courses have been added to our schedule, of course, just because of the advent of the next-gen car. This is kind of an agile car as far as the chassis is concerned. So we're going to see some more of that. But to be completely honest, I'm a purist, so to speak, where, leave me the southeastern United States, give me some short tracks, some intermediates, throw Daytona in there, and I'm a happy camper.
See, I'm a big short track guy. I love our Martinsvilles. I love our Bristols. I love those half milers. I'm a big Dover fan. Concrete is so much fun. It's so treacherous. Give me those all day long. Some late model stock cars. It's the best thing in the world.
Yeah, I actually had the privilege of being able to go to Dover a couple of years ago for the first time, and what a cool place to watch a race, and the concrete makes it so much better. Just because it's a different racing service, the drivers have to drive differently. We even started to notice that because of the way that the wind there reacts with the cars, that some drivers were slower on the backstretch than they were on the front just because of the wind tunnel effect back there.
Yeah, and I swear that Dover itself is an actual living, breathing monster. It is crazy. I believe in Miles of that being an actual monster and actually claiming cars, because I remember one year Casey Kane was leading the race perfectly fine, and then all of a sudden it was just like out of nowhere, the monster grabbed him, bit him, threw him to the wind, threw him into the wall, and it's just one of those tracks that's very, very treacherous.
Well, and, Circuit of the Americas here in Austin, Texas has a similar thing where, this was only, added to the schedule a couple of years ago, and it's become a regular part of our season now. And, I think NASCAR's hope was to bring a different audience in to watch. The thing is, to me, COTA, your COTA, Sonoma, Watkins Glen, Mid-Ohio, those places we don't go to them enough, so we still don't really get all of those viewers during those weeks.
And something about COTA for me, it has a different feel. I don't know exactly what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but something about coming to COTA is just different than your Sonomas and your Watkins Glens. I love them both, Sonoma and Watkins Glen. They're great races, but something about this track in general, it's got so many different varying, you got the S's, you've got, the uphill elevation, you have, the hairpins, and it's just like, it's a trickier and larger track, and it's just fun to watch for me.
Yeah, I was actually talking about that on Sunday night where, Sonoma has a big uphill and then a slow downhill. This is, back to the start-finish line, where, here it's kind of up and down throughout the entire course, and these drivers have to be able to overcome that, as Kenny Coppola is managing to do so. That top three, you can basically throw a blanket over them, as Coppola, Mullins, and Carmichael are still running together 1, 2, 3, as Shane Davis and Kyle Holden now running in 4th and 5th position. That's your top 5. Caden Norfrey just registering as having gone off track. And, I see this one lining up here. And he had a connection issue. Probably because the server's in Europe. And unfortunately, we're not going to see that replay. That's a shame. But, there's basically 2 calamity corners here, and they both have to do with elevation. Coming toward that safety pin turn on the back half of the racetrack, you're coming downhill. And then, of course, on the front portion of the racetrack, coming right out of the front stretch, you're coming uphill and still trying to make that turn. In fact, I'm going to ride along here, right on the front here of the 77. Now, he's coming down the front stretch, crosses the start-finish line. And as he comes up to the top of the hill, Coppola, we're going to watch that suspension all of a sudden make one heck of a difference here. He's got to be able to take all of that energy, all of that weight, and still manage to get around the turn in one piece. We even just saw Hunter Carmichael stepping out of line, so now he's going to lose some ground here on Randy Mullins. And, all of that weight and all of that speed translates eventually to out of control. Yeah,
and I'm actually really surprised here looking at some of these times that this front pack really hasn't fallen off. Mullins, Carmichael, and Capella. They haven't really dropped off in time. Maybe a second, and I mean we're already 8.5, 9 laps into this thing, and it's kind of interesting to see that they're still pushing those times in the 2:12s, 2:13s.
Yeah, I mean the fall off hasn't really hit just yet. In fact, Kenny Capola just matched his best time at 2 minutes 12:67. Randy Mullins about 2 seconds off, and Hunter Carmichael just matched his best time at 2 minutes 12:96. So just about 0.3 of a second off of leader Kenny Capola. So eventually we're going to see Carmichael creep his way, Carmichael creep his way up to Randy Mullins' rear bumper, but it's going to be a little while there in the Team Conti number 54 as Derek Pemberton just crashed. Let's see where that is here. Pemberton here in the deuce. He steps off and now comes down the front stretch. Keep forgetting that hotkey isn't programmed there. As he comes up the hill, now he's going to start looking maybe to the inside of the 93 of Ryan Huff. And we just saw right there. There it is. We're gonna run this back. We're gonna see him get to the top of the hill. All of a sudden, that front left corner of the bumper, he's going to realize that car is way off to his right. He's going to slam on the brakes, which brings it back down all 4 tires, and we can see the skid mark there as he makes his way around the turn.
Yeah, that corner is definitely a tricky corner to get through. I mean, you would think with going uphill it would be a little bit of a slower entry just because you're hauling this car up this hill. But it really seems to just come up on you really quick, and then you have to make that quick harder brake, and you just have to hope you don't flat spot those tires and really set yourself back.
Taking a look at Brandon Fetterplace here as he works his way through the arena. We're here in the chopper cam, and we can almost see him dirt tracking it, and the rear end of the car never really comes back underneath him, and this is where we're going to see him step off once again. So he's got a lot of weight that's shifting around here as he comes into that final turn back toward the front stretch. We can see Fetterplace almost using as much of this racetrack as possible without getting a penalty or an X, so to speak.
Yeah, it looks like he's really got a little bit of a looseness, trying to fire off these corners, and it really wants to step out on him, and that's not a fun thing to have whatsoever, especially on a road course.
Road courses are absolutely a different animal here. And, we've talked about that several times as we're working lap number 10 of 46. And, at this stage in the race, we've basically got to see which driver is going to, kind of back off and let it go for a little while at least. And, it looks like the top 3 at this point are going to just stay where they are. Capola, Mullins, and Carmichael. So we're going to step aside and pay some bills here on Sim Racing Media. I'm Dave Regal. He's Jordan Brockell. We'll be right back after these messages.
left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic, real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $400,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on. Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force it off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom.
Richard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Welcome back to Circuit of the Americas, where we're working lap number 13 right now. Jordan Brockell and Dave Regal here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial broadcast booth. 13 laps in the books, Jordan, and I'll tell you what, with just 2 to go here in stage number 1, I'm excited just to see what stage 2 is going to hold, as Kenny Capola, Randy Mullins, and Hunter Carmichael have been dominant all night.
Yeah, they really really just taking off right now. It looks like around 18 seconds ahead of Shane Davis here, and the three of them just seem to be the class of the field, just pulling away, kind of staying within a second of each other, maybe a little bit more for Kenny Coppola being ahead of Carmichael, but for the most part being within roughly a second, and it's just going to take one minor slip up by one of these guys later on in the race to maybe shuffle this order up a little bit.
As Kenny Coppola comes out of the final turn, he's going to lead us back to the stage 1 white flag. Kenny Coppola crossing the start-finish line, followed by Randy Mullins and Hunter Carmichael. We saw this just a little bit ago. Wow. Oh, he slides the left rear tire. We saw this earlier with a lot of the transfers here into this segment of the racetrack, how hard it is to go up that hill and make that transfer to turn left. The car is basically taking 3 inputs at once. You're trying to slow down, you're trying to turn left, and you're trying to get back on the throttle all at the same time.
Yeah, and you're trying to also, when you're braking, to stay, straight on that wheel, because the minute you start adding a little bit of, rotation in that wheel and still being on the brake, it's just asking for that rear end to step out. And once it's already kind of on edge, and then you try to get back to the gas, you can easily throw yourself around, especially in turn 1.
Right now, trying to work around Jamison Middlemiss as they're going to put the Team Watson Chevrolet Camaro down a lap. However, Middlemiss isn't going to go easily here, as he is side by side with Coppola going down this stretch. Now, we're heading right for the what I'm calling the safety pin turn. We're going to see it as now Coppola just blew the doors off of the 16. Wow! Look at Hunter Carmichael shooting past. He has absolutely overcooked that turn. Now he's going to have to get back in line. Wow! At first I thought he was going to try to make the pass and secure the lead, but all of a sudden he just took the words right away from me.
And like I said, just literally moments ago, it's going to take one slip up for this order to change around. And if that were Kenny or Mullins, they could be sitting back there in third place right now, chasing everyone back down.
Hunter Carmichael's not done yet. He's, just punted the 16 out of the way. We're gonna take a peek at that in just a moment, as that was there from the blimp. But right now, Kenny Coppola leading us here back onto the front stretch. He can see the start-finish line. The green and white flag is in the air as he crosses. Kenny Coppola will win stage number 1 here. Not sure if we're going to see the caution flag fly. However, Randy Mullins, Hunter Carmichael, Shane Davis, Kyle Holden, Alex Coffey, Brandon Fetterplace, Chris James, Jeff Taylor, and Jordan Schmeets going to round out your top 10.
Big thing that I'm thinking here right now for Carmichael is he seems like right as soon as he got back on track and was going around the 16 there, that he was driving with a little bit of aggression. I think he needs to just kind of pull himself back, take that breath, kind of reset and start digging. Not hard enough to get the car out of whack or anything like that, but definitely try to take a little bit of a breath. You made a mistake. It's early in the race. You still have plenty of time to get back up to that group, because your running times, a little bit faster here and there, and as the caution flies for the end of the stage. But he just needs to take that breath and kind of reset himself here.
Yeah, we're going to take a look here at Hunter Carmichael once again as we see him as he recovered after overshooting the safety pin turn. Here he is with the 16 of Jamison Middlemiss, and he just punts Middlemiss out of the way.
Yeah, like I said, I definitely he probably has some aggression there. He's probably a little pissed off at himself. He needs to just reel it back, realize, it happened late in the stage. He doesn't have anybody behind him at that point in time. Now he can come in, get some fresh good years, kind of reset himself, and just kind of get a breath and just relax.
One of the things that I saw in the SNN Cup Series, and I'm curious to see if it happens again here, is that these tires here on the Cup cars did not need to be changed as frequently as we see in the Xfinity and the Truck Series. The independent suspension on these Cup cars really does make a difference on the road course, and a lot of the drivers in Sunday Night NASCAR's Cup Series wound up not taking tires and going fuel only on their on their pit stops.
Yeah, I feel like if you're a Coppola or a Mullins or Carmichael, I don't think it really is necessary to grab tires. Carmichael, I might come down just because you slid through that corner like that. But a Coppola or a Mullins doesn't really need tires. You guys they're running times that are faster than the field, and maybe somebody like a Holden or a Coffee should come in, get tires, and try to jump over these guys with fresh tires. It's going to be hard to keep running their times that they do, but the fresher your tires and the fresher that everything that you have over these top three and just getting a slight advantage is definitely going to help you here.
Yeah, and at a place like this where passing is let's just say not as prevalent as we see at some of the intermediate tracks, and of course, short tracks, you kind of have to take those opportunities as they come. You don't want to miss an opportunity, but at the same time, you also don't want to overshoot, overspend your credit.
Yeah, like I said, if I'm a Davis, Shane Davis, sitting right there in fourth, you're running times fairly, slower to these guys. You want to find any kind of advantage you can, and if you can come in, say you only lose a spot or two, you're sitting in fourth, fifth or sixth, and with fresh tires you can get a better fire off, and get around these guys going into turn one and just kind of set your own sail and try to put a gap on them. The time might not even really be a difference at that point. You might be able to get a far enough advantage that when they do come down for tires, because they didn't come down for tires during this caution, you can build a gap and try to keep yourself in front of those cars because they are fast.
Yes, sir. And right now we have Randy Mullins, driver of the number 50, driver of the number 54, excuse me, right here with us. Hey, Randy, it's Dave up in the booth. You got me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hey, take us through stage one here. I mean, you finished second at Coppola in the double natural. What are you thinking as we move here into stage two, and how is that 54 handling?
It's good. I'm getting a workout, but it's definitely good. Kenny is just a little bit better on older tires than I am. I feel like I could keep up with him at the beginning of the run, kind of in the middle, but at the end, as the tires get some wear, he's showing just a little bit more speed. I'd like to get him, but I'm not going to rough him up to do it, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you guys have run a really clean race. The top three, you and Carmichael and Coppola, have all done a great job just keeping it clean. I mean, that's something that we don't see enough of, to be honest. I wish that, the rest of the iRacing.com server was watching the three of you out here, because, sometimes if you've got a little extra, some people abuse that little extra. But obviously you here in the Team Conti GG Camaro has, you figured out how to be patient.
Yeah, that's the name of the game. And then also have us three are battling for the points. So with us having almost 18-second lead on fourth place and them, there's no need to push the issue. Because if we just ride like we're riding, obviously we all want to win. But if we just finish where we're at, we're all going to finish in the top three, I think. So let's not overcook anything or take anybody out, but race each other hard and clean for sure.
All right, my friend. Well, listen, congrats on the P2 finish here in stage one, and maybe we'll see a little bit higher come the end of stage two.
I hope so, bud. I hope I can get at least a stage or maybe the win.
Bring one home for Mount Pleasant, brother.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Jordan, the side story to that is that Randy Mullins is from Mount Pleasant, North Carolina, and the little town in PA that I grew up in was Mount Pleasant, PA. And the first time I ever saw Mullins here on the racetrack, I was like, oh my God, like this is incredible. When I was a kid, we kind of sent a group of people to Mount Pleasant, North Carolina and South Carolina just because we thought it was funny.
I hear you. That's pretty crazy.
Now we're going to see, obviously, if Mullins was talking about tire wear, we're going to see him take 4. And it looks like all three of our top three are going to take 4 tires. Actually, Mullins didn't go up. I didn't see Mullins go up, did you?
I did not.
Interesting.
It looks like he's just going to try to
Fuel
jump
only.
them.
Stage 2 going to be slightly shorter than Stage 1, as of course the caution laps do count here in iRacing. They haven't figured out how to make that not happen, but it's going to slow things down a little bit. Everybody's going to get a chance to stretch their arms out. You know, they've probably been driving elbows up for the last, 14 laps. So, everybody with a nice healthy break here.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because it looks like there's quite a few that are staying out here. And, I mean, that's going to make some traffic for these guys to get through because, Kenny and Randy and Carmichael, they're going to be quicker than a lot of these guys. That I mean, not by just, fractions, like by seconds. So that's a lot of traffic to try to, navigate through, in just a short amount of time.
Yeah, it looks like Shane Davis didn't come down pit road at all. Brandon Bike hasn't come down pit road at all. And then Chad Sullivan and Barry Sanders each came in on lap 12. Tim Wortman Jr. on lap 11. And Chris Davis in 6th position came down on lap 12. So everybody behind Davis from 7th all the way through 26th is going to be on fresh tires and a tank of Go Fast. Actually, I mean, with the exception of Kyle Holden, who chose not to get tires. I'm still curious, not Kyle Holden, but Randy Mullins. I'm still curious to see whether or not Randy comes in for 4 tires or if that was intentional.
Yeah, maybe he's hoping here with not taking tires. He definitely has a couple cars in between him, Kenny, and Carmichael. Maybe he's hoping that he can run this thing out, get back to the lead, get back to the point, and hope those Kenny and Carmichael end up in a little bit of a the traffic to where they end up stuck a couple cars behind, and Mullins is just out for the races.
Well, it's going to be an interesting Stage 2, at least the beginning of it, as these drivers get themselves all lined back up. When we go back green flag racing, it's going to be Shane Davis leading us back to green. He'll be joined in the front row by Chad Sullivan, Barry Sanders, Tim Wortman, Brandon Bike, Chris Davis, Randy Mullins, Kyle Holden, Alex Coffey, and Brandon Fetterplace, your top 10. So I'm gonna be interested, really interested in seeing what this top 10 does once the green flag flies again.
It's definitely going to be interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if you see some of these guys try to spread this thing out wide and make their rear bumper 3-4 lanes wide and try to hold up these guys.
Yeah, we can actually see right here on our pit strategy graphic, everybody who came down here with 16 laps, they all came down pit road. Davis right in the middle with 4 laps. This is just an interesting top 10. It makes me really curious to see how things are about to go. And taking a look at the track temperature, it's heated up to 97. So maybe loosening the track a little bit and getting some more speed out here. That could probably be, what was causing some of these drivers late in the run to run some of their fastest laps. If they were saving a little bit here for the end of that stage, that would make complete sense to me.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely interesting to see these different strategies and these different ideas. Some people coming down before the end of the stage, and then most of the field coming down at the end of the stage. It's going to be interesting to see how these varying strategies work together.
Without a doubt, Shane Davis bringing us back to the start finish line. That means that this time we should see the iRacing.com pace car lights go out. They do. And that means that we'll be lining up 2 by 2, ready to rack, stack, and attack all over again.
It's always a great time when you see those pace lights get off. It's just an excitement. You're coming back to green, and the anticipation at a track like this just continues to build. It's a 3.5 mile track, and we have to go around this whole thing double file, just waiting to let this go.
Yeah, that takes a lot of patience just to do that, because, if you step out of line, you're going to get that automatic black flag from iRacing. And, maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing, depending on where you land. If you wind up on the short end of the stick, accidentally getting a black flag, it's not so great. But otherwise, it makes a little bit of sense to me, maybe to shorten things up, and that's something that iRacing will have to figure out how to do one day.
Yeah, I feel like this service is really good at implementing, new and, better strategies and ideas, and they really listen to the community with a lot of this, especially, they just released the rain update. I've heard people asking for that for years, and they took their time developing it. And, I really love how this service just really listens to the community as a whole.
You took the words right out of my mouth. As you were saying that, it had occurred to me that out of all of the software companies in the world, I would say that iRacing is probably right on the cutting edge of listening to what their subscribers and their users want out of the experience here.
Yeah, and it just makes me even more excited the fact that iRacing is going to be the ones developing and working with I forget what gaming company is. It might be Monster Games still, but working on the console NASCAR game. It's really great when you see stuff like that, and you know this service is great, and they take on the console game, and I feel like they're just going to listen to everything that people have been begging for, and maybe even getting back to like those 2004, 2005 NASCAR Thunder days. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Listen, I went for years now. Oddly enough, and this is just kind of a stupid way to have gotten into racing, but growing up in the fire company that I did, we had a social club, and I remember being in the club on February 18th, 2001, and that was the very first Daytona 500 that I watched flag to flag, including Dale Earnhardt's death. And since then, I was hooked almost immediately. Like, I had NASCAR 99, but I didn't really understand racing. I watched it kind of passively, but February 18th, 2001 was kind of a date that not only lives in infamy, but also, that changed my experience as a race fan. And those 2003 through 2005 NASCAR Thunder games were just incredible for their time.
I mean, and here's a crazy story about NASCAR 2004. That's the one that I love. I live and breathe that game, and it's actually a game that got me into metal music. That one soundtrack, for some reason on that game, is loaded with just very different metal bands and just hard rock songs, which you wouldn't really expect with the connotation that comes behind NASCAR. You would expect more of a country album or something like that, on a NASCAR game. But that whole 2004 soundtrack is loaded with metal songs.
Yeah, some of those soundtracks to me, like every now and then I saw it on TikTok a few months ago, where somebody took the time to lay down all of the audio from each of the Thunder games. I think it was each of the EA Sports games from 98 through like 2007. And I just sat there. Of course, you know where you do most of your TikTok scrolling. Mm-hmm. And there I am on the porcelain throne, just being a 12-year-old kid again, thinking, oh my God, this is the greatest.
It really is, and the nostalgia never wears off. It's so much fun.
I think and we're going to get into that in a minute. We're going to put a bookmark right there at nostalgia as Shane Davis leads us out of the final turn here. He crosses the start-finish line. The green flag waves, and we are back underway for stage number 2. Shane Davis taking his time on the restart. My goodness. He crossed the start-finish line for, I thought it was, never mind, that was just the timing line. So we are back underway. We're going to go up the hill here toward turn number 1. Davis and Sullivan duking it out. They're all but 3 wide behind him. My God. What a... Wow, the 33 comes to a near standstill. I think my kid with his Hot Wheels cars could have organized that a little bit better. My goodness.
And there's some cars off track there. Looks like that was the number 3 of Carmichael for sure, I believe.
As some of these cars are just coming into the S's, we're seeing Shane Davis now be the Pied Piper of COTA here. He's got Chad Sullivan in the 21 in hot pursuit, but Alex Coffey trying to overtake Sullivan here on lap number 19. We're working our way toward lap number 30 right here in the Moonshiners Racing League Cup Series. I'm Dave Regal. He's Jordan Brockell, and this is Sim Racing Media. Whoa! The 15 just tried to overcook it. He thought he could steal a spot, but he's going to have to earn that.
Yeah, and just looking here at the timing right now, Hunter Carmichael finds himself all the way down in 31st right now from that restart. I don't know what he may have gotten into there, but he's definitely going to have to bounce back from that because he is way back there.
I'm going to try to look back here and see what I can find from Carmichael, because half of my event screen on here just turned red all at once, and I can't believe what I saw. Randy Mullins, I am scanning feverishly and can barely figure this one out.
Yeah, and it just seems like Carmichael's day went from great to bad to even worse now. You know, he had that slide coming through that one turn that he just crossed through, and then I said he needed to kind of calm down and relax, and I don't know if there's going to be much of that now, just because of whatever may have happened to him. He's definitely going to be racing pissed off for sure.
Yeah, I found where he may have crashed right here at lap 18. Let's see. Nope, we were still under caution there. So that's not it. Just seeing if I'm just trying to find where all of this might have happened. It just seemed, here we go, Hunter Carmichael passing for P14. We're going to watch this right here from the beginning. Now, Carmichael in the 3 is going to just shove his way. They were 4, 5, and nearly 6 wide. Carmichael just simply, oh, there it is. He caught the 16. And got shuffled.
And then he gets hooked there by the 12, trying to cut that corner.
Bada bing, bada freaking boom, and Carmichael, there's your explanation, winds back in 31st.
Yeah, and I'd be interested to see what kind of damage he got there, because he definitely got bounced around like a ping pong ball there for a second. As I can see a little bit, from the picture of Paul Gallimore, it looks like he's got a little bit of that bumper hanging off.
Well, we'll have to see if it manages to stay on until he brings it back around to pit road. Fortunately, it's iRacing, so we shouldn't see a caution fly for debris on the racetrack. But, we were starting to talk about the nostalgia of the NASCAR games. One of the things that I think NASCAR does almost as good, if not better, than even baseball does, is this sport, stepping out of line is the 4 car of Jordan Schmitz. One of the things that I think NASCAR does as good as, if not better than baseball, is they really tap into that nostalgic part of your brain. They make sure to be good caretakers of their history, as we see Barry Sanders getting swallowed up now by the 59 of Kyle Holden. But they make sure to tap into that section of your brain that just makes you feel like a kid again. Like, where were you on February 18th, 2001? Where were you the first time you put, NASCAR 99 into your PS1? Things like that. I mean, they manage to really take care of their history in this sport.
Yeah, and I mean, especially when they do the throwback schemes and everything like that, it really taps into that, that nostalgia. William Byron running the Flame 24, I'm a Gordon fan. I started off as a Bill Elliott fan. My mother, if she's listening, she would tell you 100% that I did not know how to say Bill Elliott. I would call him Bill Idiot.
That's fair.
And then, so, kind of full circle for me, Bill Elliott fan to a Gordon fan, and then, Bill Elliott's son, Chase Elliott, comes right into the 24. It's really cool, but, just seeing the throwback schemes and how NASCAR always tries to, throughout the week, try to show you, like, past races or, things that happened on that date, in the, from the 70s all the way up to the 90s, the early 2000s. I mean, they really cherish the history that they have in their sport.
You couldn't have said it any better. In fact, a great example of that was, speaking of throwbacks, when I was down in Miami back in October for the Homestead races. It was Saturday afternoon. The truck race was first, then, of course, Xfinity ran. And Dale Jr. was running in the Xfinity race, so everybody was losing their mind over Dale Jr., including yours truly. And Jonathan Leach, of course, chief cook and bottle washer here at Sim Racing Media, he and I and his girlfriend Emily, we were on pit road together, and we didn't have passes to get. We didn't have pit road passes for Xfinity. We only had them for trucks, and we were standing at the at what would be the P1 spot on pit road, and we just kind of threw caution to the wind, and we were like, you know what, we want to get through there, we want to try to get as close to Dale Jr. as we can. Screw it, if they tell us to get away, we'll get away, but let's just see what happens. So we inch our way down pit road, finally getting literally within, I could almost touch the 88, and I was the next person in line to get an autograph when I was 2 back to get an autograph. And the PR guy comes over. He says, "All right, everybody, back up. We're about to have the invocation." And, of course, the cameras are there watching Dale pray. First of all, what a genuine person he is. The Dale Earnhardt Jr. that you get to experience on the Dale Jr. download and on TV is the exact same person that he is in real life. The kind of dude that's probably sitting with his feet up on a coffee table right now watching TV with his daughters getting ready to go to bed, And the guy right in front of me was really desperate to get his hat signed. So it's this beat up blue and gold Wrangler hat from, of course, the Dale Senior. And he reaches out and he goes, "Hey Dale, would you sign my hat? It's my daily. This is my daily, Dale." And Dale Jr. looks over, he sees the hat, and you could see in his face, like his facial expression changed almost immediately. It took him back to when he was a kid, and when his dad was driving that Goodyear number 3, and maybe even before, or not Goodyear, Wrangler, I'm sorry. But you could see something trigger inside of him, and he grabbed a marker and pushed his PR guy out of the way and signed this guy's hat. And I thought, God damn it, if only I had something worthwhile to sign, But,
yeah, but I mean that's what's great about NASCAR, in my opinion. Football and baseball, hockey, all those sports, they have their sponsors and they have their, people that give money and everything like that. But something as simple as NASCAR, like they rely heavily on the fans just as much as they rely on sponsorship deals for their cars each week. The fans are a big driving force with the sport, because without the fans, it's just gonna die. I mean, it doesn't bring the money that football and stuff like that, multi-billion dollars a year that they make. It does very well. It does way better than I will ever in my life, but it's not in the full mainstream like a football or basketball. So, I mean, they rely on their fans solely.
Yeah, and, I think the other thing that NASCAR does really well is the fan engagement. In baseball especially, and football as well, they make sure to keep the fans as far away from the players as humanly possible, where NASCAR almost does the complete opposite. NASCAR does their very best to get you as close to your favorite driver, because number one, they know that if you're going to, for instance, for a while I was one of these guys. When Dale Earnhardt Jr. was driving the Bud car, I was like, I love me some Bud. I was like freaking 12, And then when he was driving the Nationwide 88, I had Nationwide insurance. When he was driving the Diet Dew car, I was all about Diet Dew. Things like that. They know that if they can give you that connection to a driver or to a sponsor, that they have a customer for life. And they managed to build some incredible loyalty between their fans and their drivers. It's something that you don't see in any other sport. Because in other sports, Jerry Seinfeld said it best. You're cheering for laundry. When Bryce Harper played for the Nationals, I hated his guts, and I wished that, bad things would happen to him every time he came to Philly. Then all of a sudden we pick him up as a free agent. I'm like, oh my God, Bryce Harper! Wow, what a great player! Oh boy, we're cheering for laundry. You like the Phillies, sure, but you really just like the red pinstripes. It's not about the person in the uniform. if Bryce Harper got traded tomorrow, I wouldn't care about him anymore. I would still care about the Phillies. If Dale Earnhardt Jr. switched, why do some people think, oh, wow, Pepsi's delicious? It's because you were a Jeff Gordon fan.
Yeah, absolutely. I can tell you, I definitely drank my fair share of Pepsi just because of Jeff Gordon. I didn't grab a Coke because, well, Coke, who sponsored, who was a face of Coke? Dale Earnhardt Sr.
Right.
Who was I supposed to despise? Dale Earnhardt Sr. So, and these players and stuff, they can get these deals and be the faces of, all these different insurances and stuff like that. And you see them in a commercial or two, and you're just like, oh, yeah, like Travis Kelce was in this commercial, or, Bryce Harper did this commercial for this. But these drivers wear it on a weekly basis, a daily basis. They wear and promote on, 7 days a week. So if you can get a connection to a driver, or with a connection between a driver and a product, I mean, like you said, it's just the fans are going to buy it.
Yeah, and I always think about Dale Earnhardt. Dale Jr. told a story once upon a time that when he first signed with Budweiser and Anheuser-Busch, Dale Sr. was like, okay, kid, we got a media thing, you got to go over here and do this thing with Budweiser. And Jr. was like, I don't even drink beer. And Senior was like, you do now, you might as well bottoms up and get through this.
Yep, and I was gonna bring that story up. I had just heard it the other day, and he said he didn't like beer, didn't drink beer, and Dad told him, said, well, you do today. I said, I don't care if you have to sip on it. And now Dale he's like, I love beer.
Right, and apparently High Rock vodka too. One thing, speaking of the sodas in NASCAR, I've always been fascinated by, of course, especially for the Coke drivers. I mean, Pepsi has really taken kind of a back seat in NASCAR since Jeff Gordon's retirement. But I always was fascinated by the Coke family of drivers when they get into victory lane. And, or even not necessarily in victory lane, but the minute that camera gets near the driver's side window, what are they doing? They're sipping on a Coke. Now, I love Coca-Cola, Coke Zero, but I love Coca-Cola. I could not imagine after running for 500 miles in that heat what that would do. Like, I would have an instant belch. Like that.
I feel like that's the worst thing ever. Is like, I want water. Give me water.
Yeah, yes. I feel like that the minute that Coke hits your mouth, it turns to like insta foam.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you're gonna have these races where you're in 100-degree weather outside, but in the car it feels like 120, 130, whatever it may be. And the last thing I'm thinking about is, let me get this fizzy, bubbly, sugared up drink that's just gonna irritate my stomach to no end.
Yeah, I have always been fascinated with the post-race thing. I mean, I guess the post-race Coke isn't near as bad as like the Dick Trickle cigarette mid-race.
With the ashtray.
Yeah, he had a lighter installed in his car, and there he is, sucking down a heater while they're on caution laps.
Yeah, that breed was just a different breed of human. I feel like some of them guys probably went out there, half drunk off something, and still drove that car better than I could.
Just taking a quick peek back here. Things have calmed down on the racetrack. 22 laps to go as we're working our way toward lap number 30. Right now we're on lap 25, so about 5.5 to go here to the end of stage 2. Chad Sullivan, don't look now, but he is up 18 positions. Aaron Matthews, our biggest mover of the race in the AASM Ford Mustang, is up 23 spots.
Yeah, it looks like I believe Shane Davis is making a pit stop. Yep, coming down pit road now. So Randy is going to take back over the top spot, and Kenny Capola is still sitting. We'll cycle out to about third. So, I mean, he's going to be running down Mullins for sure. It's good to see, Alex Coffey up here. Last week, he got into one of the first couple of cautions, had some very, very significant damage. And this man, with how many cautions that we had, was able to get that thing back together with all the bear bond and duct tape that you could imagine, and was actually leading a couple of laps towards the end of that race and pulled off a 12th place finish. And I mean, when I tell you, like, he nosed into that wall, like, went from driving down straight to a full 90-degree into the wall, you would have thought that was terminal and done. But because of how many cautions we had last week, he was able to fix that thing up. And, as we have a little bit of contact here on the track.
A little bit. The 79 just absolutely got whacked into by Paul Whitley in the 74. And now right now they're going to be like a pair of kids on the playground chasing one another down. We're going to take another look at this from the blimp cam, and we can see them coming here toward the safety pin turn. Davis here leading Whitley at the time. I'm sorry, the other way around. Whitley leading Davis at the time. Davis comes to the inside, smokes the tires. He decides he's going to try to split him. Can't do it, and instead just takes himself right into that front fender.
Yeah, it looks like he just got a little eager there, trying to, dive in a little harder into that corner and try to gain a spot. I mean, he still comes away with that spot for sure, but, just a little eager getting in there.
Replaying here with Shane Davis in the 29. He's getting himself off track. He's going to have to slow down here. He's got a pretty good head of steam, and wow. Oh, there it is.
Yep, just seems to come out from under him there.
That's something that I saw a lot of in Xfinity racing here. The Xfinity cars have so much torque at the rear end that, the rear end of the car literally just wants to pirouette around every turn.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit, I feel like it's almost like a thinner of a car. It definitely is a lighter car, not quite the horsepower, but still quite a bit of horsepower, compared to the next gen. It seems that when you try to fire off, it just wants to kind of almost like twist the body, and it wants to just kind of push that right side out. And I feel like the next gen, where you have that exaggerated motion in the Xfinity, you don't quite have that with this next gen. The next gen just kind of comes out of nowhere and just bites you.
Yes, sir, as we work here with 20 to go now. Taking a look right here at Mullins, as he still has the DB Builders Chevrolet Camaro cranked up to crazy right now. He has been dominant so far and, managed to get through. And this is where that patience keys in, like we talked about at the beginning of this race. That patience is paying off now for Mullins.
Yeah, and like I said, taking that gas and go there, puts him ahead of Capalla. And, here at the end of this stage here soon, they're going to be on equal terms going into that final stage. They're going to be on the same tire, same fuel. They're going to be a full heads-up battle. And then Mullins, if he can hang on here at the end of the stage, he's going to be the control car. So I feel like that's going to be a big thing for him, because he's going to have that position and that spot to just kind of play the cat and mouse game, just take off.
Dave Regal and Jordan Brockell here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth. We're working lap number 28 on our way to 30 here at Circuit of the Americas, just outside Austin, Texas, the live music capital of the world. As you've been riding along with us, Randy Mullins, your race leader. Kenny Capola is running P2 right now. They've swapped positions from where they had qualified earlier in this race. Alex Coffey running in third, Chad Sullivan and Aaron Matthews, your top five. And, we touched on it a little bit ago, but I'm going to be able to get into a little bit more detail now. 6 nights of racing here on Sim Racing Media. The only night that we have off is Friday. As tonight, of course, we're in the middle right now of Moonshiners, and, of course, also on our airwaves tonight, Roughneck Racing and Racers Elite. Each kicked off a little while ago. Tomorrow night, Racers Elite, I believe it's Xfinity Series. I don't actually remember now. Hold on. Let's just take a look if we can, because I suddenly just had a complete brain fart. at this point, I've covered so many races, I don't remember what day it is.
It seems that, you get to the middle of the week and just seems to be that kind of thing. I know going to work some days, you're just like, I feel like it's a Tuesday, and then you find out it's a Thursday, and you get that little bit of excitement.
Oh yeah.
But when it happens the other way, it's you think it's Thursday and it's a Tuesday or Wednesday, you suddenly get pissed off.
Actually, tomorrow night, I'll finally be back on ovals as the Racers Elite Xfinity Series going to be at Old Atlanta tomorrow night. So I personally am excited about that for sure. And, of course, then, as I pull back up our schedule, not enough screens, and I've already got 3. But so Racers Elite Cup Series tomorrow, as Daniel Paulus Jr. will be joining me. Then nothing on Friday night, so that's date night for many folks here in the SRM family. Then Saturday afternoon at 5:30, going to be ISNF with Liam Ervig and Alan Bergen there in the ISNF series. Then ECR is going to be Liam again. He and Alan are both going to be doing double duty, and then Emily Arias joining them on ECR at 9 p.m. on Saturday. Then Sunday, of course, if you like hanging out with me tonight, you can come along with myself and my brother from another mother, Mr. Matt Metler, in prime time on Sunday night for Cup Series action, as we're going to be at Richmond Raceway. We go short track racing. Then Mondays is going to be, of course, SNN Xfinity Series action at 7:40 p.m. with me, once again at Richmond, and the SCL Series at 9 p.m. as Angel and Daniel Paulus will be with you for that. The next Tuesday, Racers Elite comes back once again with Mike and Alan, and then SNN Truck Series with me, and Western States Racing League with Liam and Sam. So a busy week of racing all but every night of the week here on SRM.
Busy. Gotta keep them lights on for sure.
This has got to be the busiest. We're on lap number 29, but this has got to be the busiest that I've ever been at SRM. I rarely work, 5 nights a week, and this week, just because of other people having scheduling conflicts and things with the real world, I'm filling in, of course, here in the Moonshiners Racing League Cup Series, and usually it's just Sunday, Monday, Tuesday for me, but then Thursday got thrown in there, so it's been busy. I'm starting to fall behind on my Jeopardy.
Yeah, and I see here, actually, Kenny Kapala decided to come down pit road and kind of do that same, strategy that we saw others taking earlier.
Well, that's interesting. So we're going to see, right now he's sunk all the way back to 18th position and falling. Randy Mullins has full control of the lead with a 6.6 second lead over Alex Coffey. Chad Sullivan running in third, so they're going to be 1, 2, 3 here. We're on the final lap of stage 2. We've moved through this with relative ease tonight, so I'm looking forward again to maybe being off a little early, as usually the SNN weeknight series start at 8:30 instead of 7:30 like a Sunday, so it was nice to start early tonight for a change.
Yeah, it's always good to be able to, put on one of these broadcasts and, still get to bed at a decent hour, You gotta get, some sleep and get refreshed for the next one, right?
Well, listen, I got to be at the top of my game. It's not every day that you wake up number one at work and then you wind up, tomorrow is just going to be a long day at the day job and then extending into the evening here on SRM.
Yeah, those day jobs, they'll get you, won't they?
Nope. No one told me when I was a kid that I would eventually have to grow up.
Well, we spend all that time as a kid like, oh, I can't wait to be older. I would love to go back and slap the crap out of myself, that's for sure.
Yeah, when you're a kid, all you want to do is grow up and drive a car, have a house, do whatever, and then when you grow up, all of a sudden you want to be a child again. It's incredible.
It's just like we all have these dreams and we're going to be race car drivers and we're going to have all this excitement, and then got to go to work every day.
Yeah, I don't think Scott Fransky, the radio voice of the Philadelphia Phillies, has to worry about a second job like I do.
Yeah, no, not at all.
He's nice and comfy.
Oh, yeah, and Merrill Reese. Voice of the Eagles. He don't have to have a second job.
No,
you know, I got to
listen.
bring him up to you.
You know, I unfortunately bleed little blue stars for reasons I'm not quite sure of, and I do like Merrill Reese. I've gotten to appreciate the art that he does work every week on the radio. During the fall season, I call high school football up in Pennsylvania's coal regions, and I actually watched a couple of videos on YouTube just preparing for how to get prepared for a football game in the radio booth. And looks like we're going to see the end of stage 1 here momentarily as Barry Sanders rolls out of the final turn. He's got the start-finish line in his sights. The yellow flag waves and stage 2 concludes, so we're going to have to bookmark that one. Randy Mullins brings home the green and white checkered flag this time. He's joined by Alex Coffey, Chad Sullivan, Aaron Matthews, Brandon Fetterplace, Kyle Holden, Shane Davis, Jordan Schmeets, Tim Wertman, and Barry Sanders, your top 10.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what happens to Kenny here. He's been on the same strategy as Mullins, so he's got to find a way to switch it up and you know, find a way to move up and, you know, kind of throw off that. And, you know, he's going to stay out here at the end of the stage, so it's going to be interesting to see how that works out for him.
Without a doubt. And as I was starting to say, I started watching a couple of videos just because I was trying to find out how a good radio broadcaster prepares for a football radio broadcast. And oddly enough, it led me to Merrill Reese and how he preps before every game, you know, no matter whether they're on the road or home here at the link. And I really do appreciate what he does on the radio now. And working high school football for a small radio station, we don't have we don't have a statistician behind me. We don't have a spotter or any of the fancy stuff that he has. So I had to kind of combine those jobs into one. So it makes me really appreciate what Merrill Reese does. And quite frankly, I do have to admire the man for what he's able to accomplish in the radio booth.
And look, I know I'm very biased because of being an Eagles fan and, you know, being all Philly. But it's just something about Merrill, no matter what he's doing, it hits you. It gets you going. It gives you goosebumps. If you have any, which I know you don't, any kind of love for the Eagles in the slightest bit, you know, it just gives you that goosebump feeling. You know, like you almost want to put the helmet on yourself and run through a brick wall.
You know, the one thing that I do admire about Merrill Reese is his passion for the game. And if you turn on 94 WIP here in the Philadelphia area, or anywhere else in the Eagles radio network, not that I'm trying to plug or anything, but, you know, that was a really accidental plug. But anyway, you can always almost tell whether the Eagles are winning or losing before he gives, you know, score and down. You can turn it on and, oh, well, the Eagles are down here. They're here on the 10-yard line. You know already that they're on their own 10-yard line and at least trailing by, you know, 6. And,
he's very passionate for sure.
You know,
you can tell he is Philadelphia.
Oh, goodness, yes. You know, and to the same point now, of course, I love Scott Fransky, and I'm good friends with Greg Murphy. You know, when I turn on the Phillies radio broadcast, which, of course, you should always be subscribed to the MLB at Bat app, just $2.99 per month or $29.99 for the year, but who's counting? You know, as soon as I turn on our radio broadcast, I can tell how good things are or where we are in the game. You know, once upon a time, I was able to tell how deep into a game we are by how sloshed Larry Anderson was.
Yeah, it's just something about Philly sports, man. Like, we are a passionate, slightly psychotic group.
Slightly psychotic is a compliment. There's actually, this is interesting. I noticed when the Eagles played the Chiefs 2 years ago in the Super Bowl, OB Builders. Oh, okay, sorry. It's not DB Builders, it's OB Builders. The shape of the font on that race car looks like a D. But that's from Taint Tickler, cheering on the 54. But one of the things that I found was really interesting is there is apparently a Kansas City Chiefs bar in South Philadelphia. They wound up closing during the Super Bowl itself a couple of years ago for reasons I could never quite be sure of.
That's interesting. I did not know that. I mean,
They-
I guess just simply because of Travis Kelce. I mean, why not?
I don't know. I'm not sure. No, I guess it's been a Chiefs bar for a really long time. Like, it may have been since before the Kelce invasion. It just, for whatever the reason, it's a Chiefs bar, and they were selling tickets, for like, door prizes and stuff for the Super Bowl that year. And they realized that they were very popular, so on and so forth, but then they had oversold the event, and the fire marshal found out and basically said, you got to be closed because you're going to be over your capacity.
Huh. Did not know that.
And I thought to myself, the fire chief is, the fire commissioner in Philadelphia is probably an Eagles fan and would just as well
shut it down just it down just because.
Right. I mean, sometimes, as Mel Brooks said, it's good to beat a king.
Amen.
But it's always interesting when I go to different cities and I find I find out about, in fact, in Myrtle Beach there is a Browns bar.
I mean, it's got to be, if you can find a group of people in that area that have a love for some team for some reason, I feel like it's just a very marketable thing to just throw a bar up, and especially in like a vacation town or something like that.
Oh yeah.
People that come down there on vacation, I mean, they're simply just gonna go to that bar because it's kind of like home.
My stepfather passed away a couple of years ago. It's when I discovered this Browns bar. When my stepfather passed away, we were down there, for the memorial service that was on a Saturday, and then Sunday, our family, that half of my family, we all rallied around football. And my stepdad was a crazy Chiefs fan for every year that I've ever known him, and so at least 25. And anyway, so we went to this place. It's called the Wild Wings Cafe, and my mom says, "Oh yeah, they celebrate that it's a Browns bar." And I'm like, first of all, didn't even know that the Browns had enough fans to constitute a gathering, much less an entire bar. And we got there, and the Cowboys are playing the Raiders. The Eagles were supposed to be primetime that night. I want to say against the Bears. No, it was Eagles Chiefs. It was something weird that had to do with the Chiefs. But anyway, so I'm watching the Cowboys Raiders, and the Browns fans in that place were completely insane. I'm like, oh my God, I've never seen anybody cheer for the Browns before, much less all of you. Kyle Holden going to be our race leader when we go back green flag racing here in the number 59 Toyota Camry from Team Watson. Shane Davis going to be restarting in P2. Tim Wortman in third. Barry Sanders in fourth. In the RS button box is 88. Blaine Wilson gets the Reaper number 18 Toyota Camry, followed by another Toyota driven by Brandon Pike. Then Kenny Capola in the double natural Toyota Camry, going to be restarting in seventh. So that's the 77 in seventh. Warren Young has the Triple M hauling number 10 Chevrolet Camaro with Bobcat there on the rear, restarting in eighth. John Binder going to be in ninth, and Matt Cox, our winner last week at Bristol, has now earned his way up here into 10th position as we get ready to go all over again. The iRacing.com pace car lights are still on. My name is Dave Regal. He is Jordan. Oh my God, I just forgot your last name.
Brockel.
Brockel. I was trying to find the button that tells me that. There it is, here at the bottom of your screen. Jordan Brockel. This is Sim Racing Media. We want to thank you for making us a part of your evening. I cannot believe I did that. I apologize.
It's all good, brother.
I just had... Listen, I've had a few brain farts, but that one was bad. Taking a look at our point standings, Randy Mullins sits atop the pile. He's followed by Matt Cox and Alex Coffey, and we can start to see some of those names, kind of getting shuffled around here tonight, due to pit strategies and things like that. Paul Gallimore in fourth, and Aaron Matthews just 23 points behind our leader, Randy Mullins, running in fifth. So 23 points separate first from fifth in the points. Yet at the same time, Tim Wortman Jr. in sixth is just one single point behind Matthews. Another 1 point gap is the distance between Alex Coffey and Matt Cox. So the point standings, even here in the early segment of our season, as we're just here in week 6, these results, of course, coming in after 5, in the early portion of this season have really gotten tight. And I mean, Justin Belmonte, even though we talked about Matt Cox jumping up 9 positions, Belmonte, after last week at Bristol, managed to come up 17 after his finish.
Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting here. Just, Kenny and Randy Mullins have been the class of the field all night. So they find themselves with a little bit of traffic. Kenny has just, 6 cars in front of him, but then, Randy Mullins has about 13 in front of him with fresh tires. But it's going to be, exciting to see how these two work their way through the field.
14 laps, going to be 12 to go when we come back. Green flag racing here at Circuit of the Americas. And, as we get ready to rock and roll, it just makes me kind of think we're going to have to see something wild, because this race has been way too calm for way too long.
Oh, without a doubt. With just 12 laps roughly to go, when we go back green, it's going to be go time, because you're not going to have a lot of time. I know it's a big track, like 3.5 miles, it's a lot of track, but it's still just 12 laps. It's 12 times around this 3.5 mile track. And, it's not a lot of time, and it's not easy to pass here. You have your corners, turn 1 on this restart's definitely going to be a big thing. We're going to see some guys step out, I know Hunter Carmichael's still back there. He's sitting around like P17. He wants to get back up there because he was, with those top 3 fast, separating themselves. So I'm gonna see him definitely wanting to push the envelope. Matt, Mullins finds himself a little bit back there just because of the pit strategies. He's definitely going to want to push the envelope and get up there and try to hope that Kenny gets held up in some of this traffic here, that he can kind of get up alongside of him and maybe throw a block here or there and try to throw Kenny off his game a little bit.
Yeah, sometimes at a road course like this, throwing someone off their game is the only offensive weapon that you have, so to speak. I mean, you're basically hitting the same marks every time, and sometimes all it takes for some of these drivers, now not all of them for sure, but sometimes all it takes is for you to just get into their rearview mirror, and it causes them to look up just enough that they miss the mark, and you're able to pounce like a lion in the desert.
Yeah, and at a road course, it's very, I would say, almost momentum based, because if you don't take a corner fast enough or you take it too fast, you kind of throw yourself off the line a little bit, and it takes you a couple of corners to just get back into your groove, and it could only take that 1 or 2 corners for someone to just, like you said, pounce and run away.
The lights are out on the iRacing.com pace car. About a half lap until we go back green here, as Shane Davis and Kyle Holden are side by side now. 2 by 2 on the way into the arc, and if you need an arc, I know a guy, as Kyle Holden is just trying to keep himself behind the iRacing.com pace car. The hard thing, and granted, I haven't led a whole lot of laps. The hard thing has to be staying right where, like, kind of in that sweet spot so that you don't catch the accidental black flag.
I'm sorry, I'm still laughing. I just kind of caught your joke here.
See what I did there? That's called a dad joke, and for more dumb jokes, tune in 4 nights a week.
It took me so much longer than it should have, and I feel pretty dumb right now.
I started getting a bunch of shirts a while ago. I used to wear a lot of sports-related shirts, and I had one that just says, "Y'all need Jesus," and I got a lot of nice compliments on it, and from, like, all kinds of different folks. But I thought to myself, maybe as I start to cycle out the T-shirts in my life, maybe I'll start to replace the sports ones with Christian-type T-shirts, because I am one. And I thought, because who's going to make fun? If I'm wearing a Phillies jersey and I happen to walk into Queens, I'm going to get made fun of. If I'm wearing a Cowboys jersey in South Philadelphia, I could be murdered. No one's going to make fun of Jesus. So I found that
you're not wrong at all there.
The logic is fairly flawless. So I found that one, and I've got another one that says "Catch up with Jesus." Let us praise. Let us. It's like the font of a Heinz bottle. catch up with Jesus. Let us praise him, and there's another one that's May Your Light Shine. What's the other one? My lifeguard walks on water. That's a good one.
Yeah, and I know this is going down a different path with the shirts, but I remember buying the little, I don't want to call them novelty shirts, but just shirts with sayings on them that are supposed to be funny or goofy, like the "I'm with stupid" or "Hey, that got your back," and it's stick figures.
Yes.
I remember getting this T-shirt one time. It said "Spanking my monkey," and I did not know what that meant, and my mom reamed me out for that, and it took me a lot longer than I ever thought it would to understand why that was a bad thing.
I don't see a problem with it. I mean, especially if you happen to have a primate as a pet. The iRacing.com pace car has drove down pit road. We crossed the start-finish line. The green flag waves, and we are back underway here for stage number 3 with 12 laps to go.
You see Kenny already taking a dive into turn 1. He's going to grab almost the lead here as he clips the 79.
There it is.
Like you said, there was going to be something crazy, and they're still wrecking.
The 12 is pointed the wrong, or the 21, I'm sorry, see, it's so backwards I couldn't even read it right. Chad Sullivan just fell like a rock all the way back here to the last car on the lead lap.
Well, I definitely could see what Kenny's plan was there. It's I'm taking the lead, and if I don't, I'm going to find it eventually. And I really thought that was going to work there for a second.
Oddly enough, that cycles Tim Wertman up here to the lead. Kyle Holden in second, John Binder in third, Blaine Wilson in fourth, and Barry Sanders in fifth. Coppola back here in ninth position, just ahead of Warren Young, so he's got a long way to go to get back up to the lead. The question is, does he have enough speed in that machine to get up there? Looks like we've had another kerfuffle here, as, my goodness, they're all having trouble getting through that safety pin turn together.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't seem to have hurt Kenny that badly. He is, sitting around sixth, but I mean, you've got to find that time to throw caution to the wind, and I've been saying it all night, that turn 1 on a restart is the perfect place to do it. I mean, you can easily grab a couple, handful of spots, and I mean, Kenny was very close to grabbing the lead from that.
Absolutely. Watching here, the 15, the 15, the 12, and the 77 all come together. I'm fairly certain that Chris James is going to need a double on the rocks of some Jim Beam, as that's got to be frustrating. Oh, and now the 32 of Matt Cox goes sideways. He just got shuffled.
That arguably, that's put Kenny Coppola even further back. He's sitting around 15th now, and arguably the second best car, Randy Mullins, sitting up in 11th. Trying to pick these cars off one-on-one, one at a time. It seems to be the better move right now.
That's something that we see usually on those intermediate, the mile-and-a-halfers here in the NASCAR circuit, where these Cup cars suddenly go single file and just start picking one another off one at a time. It's not a bad strategy here on the road courses. Whoa! This is going to be interesting as we work our way through Turn 1, or also known as Calamity Corner Junior. We'll head on down here to Turn 2 and watch them come through. Looks like everybody making it through nice and easy now, and then we set ourselves right here in the S's. And now everybody's gone single file, as you had just said, and getting ready to pick one another off one at a time.
Yeah, and it's almost like the equivalent of like watching a surgeon, making those precise, those cuts and those precise just movements, and kind of orchestrating your own plan on how to do it. As Mullins looks to the inside here after the 4 got a little squirrely there. He's just finding his little bits of moments and trying to just take it easy, surgically move his way through this field.
We see the 54 of Randy Mullins getting around Jordan Schmitz in the 4. Barry Sanders in the 88 now, back to 13th position. He had restarted in the top 10 and now has sunk back to, looks like 12th position now. He's on a recovery drive. Blaine Wilson is up 25 spots, as well as Aaron Matthews. The two biggest movers of this race, Aaron Matthews in the 5 and Blaine Wilson. Whoa, what was that? I would say that's the 79 pointed the wrong direction once again. So a rough night for some of these drivers. But we are 11 laps to go now here at Circuit of the Americas. And I'll tell you what, Jordan, this has been an incredible night. As we get ready to go to break, I'm Dave Regal. He's Jordan Brockell. This is Sim Racing Media, and you're watching the Moonshiners Racing League Cup Series.
Masker can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second part, and he can't hold on. Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom.
Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over 400 $1,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Basket can't defend. He's got the outside line for the second spot, and he can't hold on. Going the long way around. We're going to be 3 wide for the lead as they all come to the line. Who is going to take it in the end?
And here comes Lockwood. He's going to make the move to the outside. Quinn tries to force him off a little bit, but there he goes. It's going to be side by side through turn 1.
Will he be able to cover him off? He does. Weaving back to the left-hand side. Reynolds is trying everything. The kitchen sink is being thrown at it.
They're leaning on each other. Coming into turn number 3. It's going to be a drag race through 3 and 4. Coming back to the line. Here comes Frisch on the bottom.
Bouchard's going to hold the inside. Tries to be the late breaker here. They're going to be side by side through the final chicane. They bang doors, but keep it clean.
As they're still 4 wide on the run down into the back straightaway. Demerit's looking for a line as well. What is going on in Michigan?
Novak into the fence. They're still beating and banging.
Oh
and to the line.
He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it?
Welcome back to Circuit of the Americas. You're watching the Moonshiners Racing League Cup Series right here from COTA, just outside of Austin, Texas. Dave Regal and Jordan Brockel with you here in the Tony Trapasso Memorial Broadcast booth. I want to thank you for making us a part of your evening and, taking the time to hang out with us as we've been sharing some good stories here as the racing has really come in something fierce. As we were just watching during NASCAR Side-by-Side, Kyle Holden makes a pass for the lead around Tim Wortman, and all of a sudden, Kyle Holden, your new race leader.
And it's really interesting to see, too, that Carmichael seemed to come out of nowhere and finds himself in that third-place spot. I mean, he is almost 11 seconds behind, but, I mean, between him and Mullins, they've been running insane, lap times this entire race. So I'm interested to see if he could close that rather quickly.
I think we're going to see some of that close off here. Hunter Carmichael here, now 10.5 seconds off the race lead. We're going to start to watch his time delta right here as we start to see some of that graph start to go toward the negative side, which means that he is getting faster. And Hunter Carmichael right now nearly a second faster per lap as we go right here to the lap times themselves. We're going to go right here to Tim Wortman so we can see Hunter Carmichael. All of a sudden, Hunter Carmichael running 2.3 seconds faster than Wortman per lap.
Yeah, and that time's going to be eaten up really quickly because it's a 3.5 mile road course, and 6 laps is not a lot of time, and Carmichael is pissed. He has had a terrible night. He's been in that massive wreck on one of the later restarts, and slid through that one corner. Coming to the end of the first stage, he is pissed. So he's definitely going to be trying to make up that time.
Hunter Carmichael with all but 3/4 of a second that time faster than Wortman here. And, we were just talking about things getting faster. Hunter Carmichael has now shrank that lead down to 10.3 seconds on Tim. I almost said Tim Holden. He used to be a congressman in Pennsylvania. But Kyle Holden, that is. And Kyle Holden, out of Chicago, Illinois, the 33-year-old, has the number 59 Team Watson Toyota Camry cranked up to crazy right now with 6 laps to go.
Yeah, it's really interesting. He wasn't one of the ones that was shining earlier, but he's definitely running times around what the leaders were, through the top 3 there on that first stage. He's running that 212, 213 area. He might be saving a little bit here just so he doesn't wear his stuff out and kind of make his situation worse. But he's definitely running times that were fast, able to compete with those leaders.
Well, and this is a guy who, we've talked about it repeatedly tonight, who has raced a patient race. I mean, right now he's up 5 positions from where he had started back in 6th. And, patience pays off on these road courses. And you may not have an aggressive pass for the lead. You may not see that last lap 4 wide like we see at Talladega. But you wind up seeing somebody who, your skill, your patience, and your discipline is what gets you to victory lane, not aggressive driving.
Yeah, and we said that, at the start of this thing, that road courses is just racing your own race and just trying to find a little bit of, time here and there and just racing the track and not the ones around you. And that seems to be what's going on with Kyle Holden right now. Like I said, he was running those slower times, wasn't really, in the front, and now finds himself sitting, in the at the point here, and hopefully bringing this thing back around in 5 laps for the checkered flag.
Without a doubt, as Chris Davis just passed Chris Spear for P18 and then promptly went off track, and we'll see what happens here. As we see Davis in the 29 looking to the right side of Chris Spear, he gets around Spear and then just kind of wings it off track. He manages to keep it in front of Spear and kind of forces Spear to check up here going through the arena.
And that's kind of one of those things we were talking about, on that right before that last restart, throwing those guys off their line, throwing them off, kind of getting in their way almost, and timing when you get back on throttle and timing how soon you get on, on the brakes and trying to throw that guy off his line. He just kind of got in front of Spears there, kind of spooked him a little bit to where he just, checks up and, he can just run off with the position.
Yeah, I mean, Randy Mullins currently chasing Hunter Carmichael as they are using every inch of raceable surface. They're not even using the racing surface. It's just raceable surface. At some points they're in the grass, other times they're in the dirt. I mean, it's incredible to watch them go at it like this.
Yeah, because, Carmichael has a little bit of damage on that front nose. So, I mean, he might not fully have, power, but he's definitely running well enough that he is kind of in Mullins' way right now. Mullins is running, I just saw like a 211 at one point, and Carmichael was in like a 212, 213, and Carmichael's just playing, again, like we said, just throwing that person off, getting in their way, kind of throwing them off their line, and hanging on for dear life at this point.
Yes, sir. As Kyle Holden crosses the start-finish line, we're now 4 laps to go. So the fans are antsy in their seats. We know that everybody here in the YouTube.com live chat's been with us all evening long. Tracy Holden cheering on Kyle Holden, saying, "All right, Kyle, go," as the taint tickler wanted us to get back to the action. It's strange that taint tickler and action is in the same sentence. I don't know where to go with that.
Never thought you'd say that in a sentence, did you?
Yeah, I never thought that somebody called taint tickler would want me to get back to the action. It's like I started watching TV while we were in a bedroom. To be fair, look, I almost broke you. That's my game, by the way.
I was warned. I was fully warned about it, and I feel like I was pretty broken right there because I had no rebuttal for that.
Who warned you?
Alan gave me a little bit of heads up. He said, Dave will try to break you. Dave will try to get you to choke up and laugh your butt off.
That's my job. In fact, if you checked out the Discord earlier today, I think I found Alan's long-lost twin sister. She happens to be Amish.
Yeah, that kind of broke me too.
And boy, can she churn butter. It was funny. I on TikTok, of course, I'm scrolling through, and I've seen this girl on the TikTok before, like I'm a 75-year-old man. But for some reason, when she came on there today, I was like, oh my God, it's Alan in a dress.
As I believe this is Alan right now in the comments, the Alan experience. It says "told you."
I win. Kelly Coffee, will the ones that didn't pit at the stage break have enough fuel? That's a good question, Kelly. Let's take a look right now as my partner gets himself composed once again. We'll pull up the pit strategies here. Now, Holden's got 15 laps on those tires and that tank of fuel. He should be plenty good. It looks like everybody here, at least in the top 10, should make it to the end. Yeah, they should be fine, Kelly. Obviously, Alan had nothing else to do this evening and decided to peek in here on the old YouTube channel.
Yep. I guess he wanted to see if you actually succeeded at breaking me at some point tonight.
That's what I'm here for. I'm here to entertain and inform.
Just looking at here, it looks like Mullins did get around Carmichael. Carmichael's still sitting around that 10.9 from the leader right now, but Mullins has pulled it within 7.25 seconds. With 3 laps to go, I don't think he can really get to the leader, but I think he could manage to get himself right there with Wortman, fight for that P2. It's going to be interesting. He's already down to 6.5 seconds. So it's very, very, very possible that he could even possibly get to that lead spot. I mean, that was half a second in just a few turns. He's flying. I mean, he's got that thing definitely cranked up to whatever's above crazy.
Well, see, now cranking it up to crazy is just below ludicrous speed.
And I feel like he's pushing that ludicrous speed, if I'm being honest, because it's already down in the fives, 6.0 even, down into the fives already, and it's only been a handful of turns.
Yeah, I mean, he's got things cranked up, and I mean, this is that point in the race where if you have something that you haven't used yet, and you're close enough to make that pass safely, this is the time to do it. And I mean, right now, Brandon Fetterplace, just behind Barry Sanders, they're starting to duke it out here. And I mean, this is where Fetterplace is really going to have to start to pour on the extra nitrous into that manifold as he chases Barry Sanders. There's only about a half second between the two of them. They're pretty close here on the racetrack. Chris Davis as well, just behind Paul Gallimore in the 11. These two drivers, it may be deep in here for in the battle for 17th. But hey, that's still a point there in the standings. Brandon Bike also here in the one machine, trying to get around the damaged car of Ed Boyles. And I always kind of have to chuckle to myself when I see somebody who looks like they're driving a modified car, and they're still able to drive defensively enough to hold off somebody whose car is relatively clean, like Bikes is. So, as we ride along, that's an interesting. Oh, it's a Viper front end. I couldn't figure out what that was. The Ford body style is really, the Toyota body style this year is really cool to watch people, try to make those things a little bit different, or try to make them a different manufacturer. His Bike from Tampa Bay, Florida, I was just down there, looks now to the outside, now peeks toward the inside of the 38 of Ed Boyles Jr.
Yeah,
Boyles
it's one of those things where, Boyles might not have the speed down this run, down the front stretch, but if he can still stay in front of the one here, as I think he's just going to give up the position, knowing that he's a little bit slower, but he's got enough power to kind of run through these tighter corners and these more finesse corners that he can kind of keep pace still and kind of hold guys up, but it's those long straightaways that he gets kind of overrun and loses a spot or two. But if he can just kind of throw somebody off, I mean, he can continue to keep a point. I think he's giving way to Nick King here, though.
Yeah, Nick King is also going to get around the 38, so obviously it's a little frustrating for Boyles now to go from 22nd to 24th in this piece, with just, a handful of seconds behind him, in front of him. Meanwhile, the popsicle sticks are about to go down as the man in the stand grabs the white flag out of the holster. Everybody is up on their feet here in the grandstands. Kyle Holden comes out of the final turn. The white flag is in the air, and we are racing back to checkers.
It's going to be interesting. I thought Mullins would have made more of a headway here, but it seems like he kind of stalled out just above that 5-second mark. I'm still interested that maybe he could still get to Wortman. He gained roughly 2-3 seconds in one lap, prior to this, but I almost wonder if he kind of burned his stuff up and doesn't really have much car left.
I mean, if you don't have much car left, this is the time to see if there's anything there. And, all of a sudden here, Fetter Place, Coffee, and Binder and Aaron Matthews all in a battle here for 6th position as Fetter Place trying to hold off Alex Coffey. Barry Sanders running away with 5th position, netting his top 5 for the evening. Fetter Place comes through the S's here as Holden, with just a half lap to go, as he comes out of the safety pin turn, can see the checkered flag in his future.
Absolutely. I mean, with almost a 3-second lead, he can kind of not necessarily coast, but I mean, he can, take it a little easy around some of these turns, the ones that could get you a little squirrely. He doesn't have to maybe drive in as deep into the corner, and he doesn't have to, get on throttle as hard and just kind of bring her home.
Kyle Holden has climbed up 5 positions now to get where he is with a quarter lap to go. He leads Tim Wortman by almost 2 full seconds here. Randy Mullins running in 3rd. That should be our podium, as there's 6.5 seconds back to Hunter Carmichael here in the 3 machine. Barry Sanders is going to round out your top 5 as long as he can hold off Brandon Fetterplace and Alex Coffey. As Coffey and Fetterplace are side by side, I wish that we had the ability to watch 2 battles at once here, as Kyle Holden comes out of the arena now toward that final turn. He comes around the corner. He can see the man in the stand changing flags one more time here. The checkered flag waves, and Kyle Holden crosses the start-finish line and gets ready to celebrate here at Circuit of the Americas. Kyle Holden comes across the start-finish line. He's followed by Tim Wortman and Randy Mullins. Hunter Carmichael and Barry Sanders going to make up your top 5. They're still not done fighting back here as Brandon Fetterplace and Alex Coffey duke it out here with just yards to go now in this race. The next closest battle on the racetrack going to be Derek Pemberton, but it looks like he's starting to lose ground on Chris Davis. There's still some tight battles here. This is for 18th position, as everything else is pretty well settled out. Blaine Wilson now trails Shane Davis, so all of a sudden, Paul Whitley decides he wants to turn it on one more time here with Johnny Shade, as Kyle Holden is already working his way through his victory lap and putting it on pit road a while. And now Johnny Shade and Paul Whitley are starting to cool it down, as it just seems like maybe they've given it all tonight here. I'm just trying to keep an eye on this because they deserve to be covered, that's for sure. As Whitley gets back on the throttle here toward the arena, I'm not sure if he's going to have enough. We'll have to ride along. He's trying to close in right here on the 13 of Johnny Shade.
He's definitely
going to try it.
And the 13 gets a little deep in there. But
that was his opportunity.
To get the drive off.
Another P2 for Tim Wortman Jr. as Shade and Whitley come across the start-finish line in that battle for 25th. But Kyle Holden, your race winner. Let's see if we can get a hold of him right here on Sim Racing Media. And I'm just waiting for these guys to get here into the interview waiting room. As soon as they do, we will get right on to our post-race interviews. Dave Riegel and Jordan Brockell here with you on Sim Racing Media. What an incredible race, Jordan, for our first time together.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's kind of one of those where, you know, Holden just found himself in the right place, the right time. You know, cycled out as the leader after one of those stage breaks, and just kind of bid his time, you know, behind Wortman, and once he found his opportunity, pushed himself around.
Yes, sir. Right now, we actually have as we get to our post-race interviews, we have Randy Mullins with us here in the 54. Let's pull up that beautiful bean footage. Hey, Randy, it's Dave up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Hey, man, listen, a tough battle tonight for you here as you drop down into third position after qualifying on the front row. How do things feel here for the Mount Pleasant, North Carolina native?
Point today feels great. Second in the first stage, won the second stage, finished third overall, so it's definitely a good points day. I felt that once Kenny had trouble there, that I had the car to beat, but the start to the third stage was so wild and people beating and banging and overshooting the corners. It just cost me so much time I couldn't run them down.
Yeah, a place like this, you know, rubbing as racing is fine on a short track, but at a place like this, if you rub someone just a little too hard, they're going to go the wrong way.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, man, a hard-fought battle, but, you know, you still managed to net the points, you know, as you had just said, for finishing P3 tonight. Before we cut you loose, who do you need to thank for this run and the podium finish?
All my teammates, for one, and then my sponsors, Ram Welding and Fabrication. OB Builders, they're real big as far as helping me and stuff like that. And then you guys up in the booth, Barry for putting on the league, my buddy Mike who watches every week, and my wife for tolerating me spending so much time on this thing. And then I got a real good friend of mine, Brandon Pasalaka, who he helps me out a lot, so I definitely need to shout him out.
All right, my friend. Well, listen, congratulations tonight, and we will see you next week.
All right, buddy. Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
You too, as we get Randy Mullins down into the waiting room. Nope. Just need to get Tim Wortman up here. Maybe we need to go down here. Just trying to get Tim Wortman into our post-race interview here. You know what? You and I are going to drop down here, go into your Discord, and go ahead and go to the interview waiting room. Hey, Tim, it's Dave and Jordan up in the booth. You got us?
Hey, guys, you got me?
Yes, sir. Hey, listen, what a run tonight as you come home in second position. I mean, you know, it's a rough finish when you wind up the bridesmaid and not the bride, but you still managed to have a good points night. How's that car feeling?
I feel a lot better if his win, but nobody better finish second to than Kyle Holden. He's a great addition to our league here in the last year or two, and just a stand-up guy. And got to run with him a little bit on Thursday night, so I had a little idea of what was coming my way. We were pretty close, but he was always a little bit faster than me. So I knew it was going to come down to him making a mistake. Once he got to me, I didn't want to fight with him because I knew we had 8-9 seconds. I didn't want to battle it with him so hard that we both gave up something and wrecked.
Yeah, you know, that's part of the discipline and the patience that Jordan and I have been talking about, you know, all night long. I mean, how much do you really put on discipline and patience getting around a road course like this?
I mean, around here, it's important. As you can see, I made a very rare mistake on lap one and got myself at the mid to back pack and found myself playing catch up the rest of the night. I mean, I really feel like we were a top 5 car, but you gotta make it through turn one, for 46 laps in order to finish. So, here we are.
All right, my friend. Well, listen, congratulations on the finish tonight. Maybe a little bit better next week as we head on through the season, but congrats once again. And before we cut you loose, who do you need to thank for this run?
I want to thank my guys at Warrior Racing, Nick at Warrior Wraps for putting me in such a sweet looking car. RS Button Boxes for, keeping me with this button box here to help me, keep my switches going all night. Advanced Sim Racing for this beautiful rig that I'm sitting in that's really helped me out. I'm at least a second half faster than I was last season. And this VRS Downforce Pro wheelbase and pedals just has me getting into the corners just so good. So definitely one of the least talked about wheelbases out there, man. I wish everybody get a chance to try it.
All right, my man. Well, listen, congratulations, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.
As we're waiting here, come on, just waiting for Jordan to come back up in here. There he is. As we're still trying to get a hold of our race winner, Kyle Holden, here in the 59. Well, I was hoping to get a chance to talk with him, but it looks like he's staying down in his race chat, at least for the time being. We'll try to kill a little bit of time and see if he can pop in. We're going to take one final look here at our results tonight. Jordan, what an incredible race for you to come on your maiden voyage with.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an entertaining race. It's a exciting race. There's battles all throughout the field. You see different skill levels, especially at something like a road course, just because it is so different than just an oval. And it really shows how talented drivers can be.
Yeah, these drivers week after week, continue to surprise us here, in this league and of course elsewhere around the iRacing circuit. And I'm always excited when I get to call a different league that I don't usually sit in. As speaking of which, here is Kyle Holden, our race winner. Hey, Kyle, how you feeling tonight? As congratulations all around for you, sir.
Oh, appreciate it. Feeling pretty good. We put in a lot of practice over the week with Kenny and all them, and kind of paid out a little bit. Definitely, we're not the fastest out there. We were kind of struggling. We got a little bit late, so we didn't get to turn as many laps as we wanted to before the race. But luck turned out in our favor there with a little bit of strategy and whatever happened there in turn one. So just a little bit of luck there for us, and we got a win.
Absolutely, man. I mean, getting around this place is a pain in the tuchus. So, in the first place, I mean, you managed to race your race. You didn't come off of your own line, and you didn't beat yourself. I think that's, 95% of the battle at a road course.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's just battling the track rather than battling the drivers around you. Unless it's lap one, you kind of got to battle them a little bit and kind of pay attention on what they're doing. But for the most part, you just want to pay attention to where you are on track and just keep it on there without spinning.
Absolutely. Well, listen, congratulations once again. This should absolutely help your points campaign on the season. I mean, coming into tonight, you were kind of buried here in the standings, at least, back in 14th, but I'm pretty sure that we're going to see you hop up here real quick.
Yeah, we've had kind of quite a struggle at the beginning of the season here. Been wrecked out a couple races and just finishing last. So hopefully we can get the ball rolling here with this win and see if we can keep things moving forward.
All right, buddy. Well, listen, congrats once again. Before we cut you loose, who do you need to thank tonight for this run?
Of course, huge thanks to Kenny. He puts in all the time here for these setups. He's the one who should be winning these because he's the fastest at these road courses. We always end up, since sometimes you get into wrecks and stuff like that, or you end up making a mistake, and it definitely kind of ruins his race sometimes, but it happens to everyone. So huge thanks to him. Huge thanks to Team Watson Racing for having me. Huge thanks to you guys in the booth, and huge thanks to the league.
All righty. Congrats once again, and we'll see you next week.
Appreciate it.
Well, Jordan, before we get out of here, we want to go through the final race results as we pull them up here on your screen. Kyle Holden brings home the checkered flag. He's joined on the podium by Tim Wortman Jr. and Randy Mullins. Hunter Carmichael and Barry Sanders make up your top five, while Alex Coffey, Brandon Fetterplace, John Binder, Aaron Matthews, and Chad Sullivan make up the top 10. Shane Davis finishes in 11th, while Blaine Wilson and Jeff Taylor come home 12th and 13th. Jordan Schmeetz finishes 14th, while Chris James comes home in 15th. Justin Belmonte, Paul Gallimore, Chris Davis, Derek Pemberton, and Matt Cox round out your top 20. All the while Chris Spear is the beginning of the best of the rest. Here coming home in 21st, Brandon Bike brings 22nd place honors back home, as Nick King and Ed Boyles finished 23rd and 24th. Johnny Shade, Paul Whitley, Jamison Middlemiss, Darren Mills, Dean Motley, and Warren Young bring an end to the top 30. And then Kenny Capola, Jared Clark, Ryan Huff, Caden Norfree, Nicholas Atwood, and Nigel Christensen, after just 5 laps, puts it on the hauler tonight here at Circuit of the Americas. So I want to thank you for joining us tonight, all of you at home for coming in here to Sim Racing Media and tuning in on YouTube.com and making us a part of your evening. So for, of course, myself, Dave Regal, and Jordan Brockell, we're glad that you came along for the ride. And tomorrow, as you go through the walk down the road of life, please don't play in traffic. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.